Last time on Secret of the fucking Mimic.
I can't wait to see what it is.
Yummy shit! I love yummy shit!
No, oh my god, young man. Kill yourself!
Tiger!
No, stop! What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What? No! Oh my god!
Fuck you!
Well, turns out there's a lot of secrets of the Mimic, like how there's actually 2 of them, how Edwin had his hand in basically every aspect of FNAF setup to flesh out the lore, the sudden involvement of Henry and William supposedly stealing Edwin's handiwork, and ideas to fund their own projects after seemingly being in close contact with Edwin throughout the whole process of what is known as the Fazbear Project. But while we'll get to all those facts at a later date, I want to focus on what seemingly is the most important secret that the Mimic is hiding: the Cradle. I personally want to point out that the acronym of this game is Sodom. It's pretty fitting. It's kind of like how I feel absolutely sodomized for having to play the game 3 fucking times. Regardless, it was a cool experience, though soft locking is the current bane of my existence, second only to how everyone in this community seems to be linking David, the crying child, and Gregory right now. But that'll have to wait. That'll have to be a different rant for a different time, because right now we need to discuss the importance of AI and how it sets itself up for the future in the sequel to Ruin. First things first, let's all be real for a second. Spoilers are usually not my thing, so let's just say for the sake of common courtesy that this is a spoiler warning for those who haven't played it yet. I mean, it's been like a month or so, but I still want to be fair and level with my audience with no assumptions attached as to how involved people are with the lore of this game. I mean, shit, I take forever to upload the next installment of my theory videos, so I kind of gotta have that courtesy about me, you know? I welcome all types of fans, the casual, the hardcore theorists, the shippers, well, maybe not those people. But what I do know for sure is that this video will be straight to the point and sorta headcanon-y, as with the information we have before us, it could take us down several roads, but I'm going to use Occam's razor as much as I possibly can and pick what, in my mind, would be the easiest solution to not appease the fan base, but conclude the current events and kind of project the future of the series based on the current lore that we have now. So, now that the pleasantries are out of the way, let's discuss M1 and M2. I won't bore you with the full rundown of the game, since you can literally watch my nearly 6-hour playthrough of it on my channel raw and get the gist out of the plot pretty easily. So yes, I'm gonna shamelessly plug my own videos. Go watch them! It'll catch you up in no time. Do it! Let's dive into the crux of the Mimic story as we are now. So, to recap, we have ourselves the Mimic, what we see for the majority of the game, and the Mimic? It's a subversion, basically making 2 Mimics, or 2 separate programs for the Mimic. M1 was originally made after the untimely death of Fiona, Edwin Murray's wife, supposedly at the Fall Festival that took place in 1979, prompting him to replicate a past action from the Silver Eyes trilogy and create a robot in her stead to serve as a helper and a playmate for their son David. After the unfortunate incident that got David killed, the robot, who I will be referring to from now on as M1, put the idea in Edwin's head to remake his son, just like he remade his wife. But by this point, Edwin was already feeling the effects of the 5 stages of grief and began to regret the new creations he had made, but still went through with them, saving his M1 file in the computer system and remaking his son through a copy of the program he used to make the first one, now dubbed as M2. After his grief began to lean into more of like an angry phase, he decided he'd had enough of the M2 program imitating his dead son, and for lack of a better term right now, beat the ever-loving shit out of it, prompting it to learn very high-impact violence on the spot, and ultimately resulting in his death and the deaths of many others who tried to get the schematics for the Mimic program thereafter. Now that you're all caught up on the main villain, we can talk about how we even got this information in the first place, though it was pretty much said through the horse's mouth. We get a lot of information from this game. Not hidden away, not implied, but straight up told to us via the main villain of the game. To sum up, basically, the main ending of the game involves us taking the data diver we're given to access parts of the factory and obtain schematics for the Mimic program, and go down an alternate path into a secret part of the game that, by the way, you don't need every item for. Yeah, you can still do the parachute ending in the base game once you've gone through every section. Once you're there, you avoid the Mimic, who's pretty much taken the form of this pseudo amalgam of prototype costumes for what looks like a first draft of the FNAF 1 location. This would be the section that reveals the Fazbear project that Edwin was working on before his unfortunate passing, and that was ultimately alluded to throughout the emails that you got on the computer. After draining power from certain sections of the building, you're given a chance to enter the security office where M1, who now calls herself Fiona, is stationed, and she pretty much relents the fact that she's been down there in the basement for quite a while and says all she wants to do is put M2 back to its original programming, that there's still a way to make him revert to his old self again, through the data diver, and through a routine program reminiscent of positive memories that Edwin and M1 instilled inside him when he was first created. That is the ultimate endgame. Fix the Mimic and get out alive. Unfortunately, neither of those things happen, and the Mimic walks free with the data diver, or at least all the information that was gathered from the data diver, and all our progress up to that point. It's important to note that breadcrumbs were left behind to show M1's true intentions, and that she isn't trying to escape or build more animatronics. Her sole objective is to regain control of M2, which would be considered her only son. If you do happen to collect all items in the game, the final version of the moon.exe program is available on the computer for you, which gives you access to secret rooms in Murray's house separate from the factory, and there you get the chance to fix M2 once and for all, and through that, fulfill M1's wishes. Though this doesn't seem to be the real ending, considering Ruin, we can assume that this isn't the intended route for the story going forward. M1 needs us to fully restore M2, but considering all that we've talked about, there's one more way that the intended route can be achieved, and it all stems from the company computer emails throughout the game and a certain dark blue rabbit. In Ruin, we have similar gear to the data diver from Murray's factory. Even the inclusion of Helpy in one way or the other is present in each. But the one thing that stands out is the inclusion of Mexus. This thing was seen in the back of a Murray's Costume Manor van, presumably with the same computer that held the M1 program by the looks of it, with a computer system similar to how M1 looked in Secret of the Mimic. So putting one to one together, we clearly have a connection, but it goes further than that. Throughout Secret of the Mimic, you're given company-issued mail from clients and employees, sometimes business partners if you really know where to look. But there are certain emails that portray binary code as the sender of these messages, and one email in particular makes the connection between those monitors make more sense. With the way these messages are portrayed, there are likely two different programs in this computer system sending messages. One that sounds like it's trying to figure out how to type sentences or is so confused it's hard to make out words, almost like it's in the middle of learning from previous emails, and, I will compare, similar to the sticky notes in Security Breach. And one that is fully articulate and attempting to make contact with Edwin, talking presumably about M2, talking about the Cradle, presuming that it's the way that can calm M2 down and fix it somehow. I actually had an idea that the moon in the basement of the factory was the Cradle, singing lullabies to M2, but with having finished the full game with the previous context of Ruin and where the story kind of takes place in the future, coupled with the fact that Mixus is trying to prevent Cassie from accessing the Mimic down in the basement, with all the costumes from the factory, it paints a pretty clear picture of what Mixus was intended to be. It's sort of a containment unit for M2 to prevent its violent tendencies from surfacing, or rather it's meant to bring back its original personality devoid of bad influence. I suspect we will eventually see a Fall Fest DLC, or something to add more context as to how Fiona died, or at least allude in some way to what happened to her. It was probably William. But for now, the M1 and 2 programs are operating, with M1 in the system from Security Breach and M2 in the physical form trapped in the basement. With that in mind, I think whatever will happen next will involve previous characters and even Cassie if she survived that elevator collapse. The ultimate goal for now is to turn the Mimic back to normal, just like in Secret of the Mimic. The blueprints are there, but with how straight up and explicit the details of this game are, all we can do now is wait until DLC or a new installment, whether it be like a full game, another troll game, what have you. But until then, I have a couple ideas I'd like to run by you guys about Sister Location and past lore that it's either been forgotten or swept under the rug or hasn't been really explored all that much, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.